yeah, just have any questions ready.
Okay. We're gonna start off with the first question. What initially drew you to pursue dentistry?
So I think the biggest thing was just being able to work with my hands and helping people change their lives, especially if they're coming in with pain or anything like that. And I think that's kind of my favorite thing about dentistry at the moment.
And then what was kind of like the defining moment that made you realize that this was the perfect career for me?
So initially, when I first found out about dentistry, I went and volunteered at Texas Mission of Mercy, and then through that, I kind of realized that I saw how much it could help people and change their lives. So that was something that really drew me to the field. And after I saw how impactful they were on people's lives, I decided that this was going to be the career for me.
Texas Mission of Mercy, that's the nonprofit dental clinic. Um, what
Yeah,
was
for those of you guys who don't know, Texas Mission of Mercy, they have events throughout all of Texas. So sometimes it's San Angelo, San Antonio, kind of all around. But I think they do it once a year and they just provide a bunch of free dental work to anyone who can't really afford it. And
great?
I highly recommend volunteering over there if you guys ever get a chance, because number one, you are helping people, and number two, it looks really good on your applications.
They happen to have it in Houston this year.
Oh, nice.
Great. And then we're gonna dive into your undergraduate experience if you still remember it. What classes kind of like helped you the most in preparing for dentistry?
So actually, none of the classes you take in undergrad are gonna be like fully translating towards dental school. For example, organic chemistry and all that stuff. We never learned about organic chemistry ever since we graduated. Maybe it's biology and biochem, things like that, like genetics. We started seeing stuff like that. But organic chemistry is more of like a class that they kind of test your knowledge to see if it's something that you can make a good grade in because typically organic chemistry is known to be one of the harder classes. So if you pass that class and get really good grades on it, then they know that you're able to handle a harder course load and study better, things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So kind of be like the weed out.
Pretty
Um,
much, yeah.
right? And then someone had a question on one of our forms, and they were asking how you kind of manage organic camp one and two, if you had any like practical study tips.
Yeah, so one thing for me was we had, I think it's called the ACS tutoring, or is that what it's? Okay, yeah. I used to go. I lived there like for Orgo 1 and 2. I'd be there every single day, and I became really good friends with some of the tutors over there. So we kind of just every day we I wouldn't stay there for like 4 or 5 hours, but I try to go every day for 30 minutes to an hour, kind of go over the lesson that we had that day and kind of just memorize the reactions and things like that. So I would recommend just doing a little bit every day and don't try to cram it in right before the exam because it's a lot of reactions to memorize. Also, kind of understanding the workflow of what electrons pathways they follow and what they attack and things like that. That really helps out if you try to conceptualize it.
Great tip. Yeah, ACS is still available, especially with Dr. Bean gone. They'll definitely help you all out. And then just another question someone had for students working as RDAs, how can they balance coursework while also pursuing getting like hands-on experience?
Yeah, so that could be really hard. And for me, I started working after I graduated, so kind of in the COVID year. And then in my gap year, that's when I started working. So I never really had to deal with that. But it could get pretty hard. So maybe if you want, you can drop your coursework and instead of taking 5 classes that semester, take 3 classes, or maybe pick up less shifts or wake up earlier and study harder in the early mornings. So if you want to get it done, you'll find a way to get it done.
Just to dive into the application process, beyond like GPA or having a high DAT score, what was kind of something on your application that made you stand out, like an impactful experience that? made your application stand out?
So that's actually a really good question. Regarding GPA and DAT, if one of them is lower than the other, they still kind of look at everything holistically. Like, for example, my GPA was like about 3.75, which is not insanely high, but it's not low. But my DAT was pretty low. I got a 19. I think what really made my application stand out was how much volunteering was there, because I tried to do it as many Mission of Mercies as I could, and also the shadowing and working as a dental assistant. But I think the main thing was just also picking up leadership positions at organizations at school too. So definitely do as much as you can, even if you have a low GPA or a low DAT. Just try your best to either get it higher or stand out in other ways.
Specifically, looking into your own application, what do you think differentiated you from other candidates?
I feel like a lot of the people that applied had kind of very similar experiences as I did. But I think definitely working as a dental assistant, not that many people did that. I feel like that really helped me my second time when I applied. But other than that, I feel like because at the end of the day, a lot of people are going to be volunteering and doing a lot of the things that you do. But if you can kind of find one thing that you are actually passionate about, and even if it's like running a marathon or something that you're passionate about, just don't think that they're not going to look at that. So I would still add something like that, even if it has nothing to do with dentistry. They still like to see that you have a life outside of like your studies and your volunteering and all that stuff.
Kind of like build yourself up outside of school, just so they see
Yeah,
you fulfilling.
yeah, exactly.
I think we can all tell like you like sports, things like that. So do you think like having extracurriculars like that is like one of the main things that make your application stand out?
Yeah, it could, honestly, could be anything you're passionate about. Sports. I don't know. I don't. That's the only thing I'm passionate about. I don't know what else people are passionate about these days. But yeah, anything that you're, even if you like to stay home and stitch or make patterns and designs or anything like that, just put it on your application, because in a way that'll make you stand out.
How did you kind of approach your personal statements and interviews?
So for personal statement, UH had a writing center. I can't remember where, if it was in the business center or some, it was somewhere in the on the campus. And then I kind of wrote whatever I thought would be good, and then I'd spend every day with one of the people at the writing center, and we kind of just went over it. But nowadays, if I had Chat GPT, I probably would have used that to write it, and then I'd take it to the writing center and make it more humanized.
I think the rating center has like virtual things down to it.
That's
Like
good.
that'll help me. Someone had a question specifically. They kind of wanted to look into your mindset when you first got rejected from dental school. What kind of kept you motivated and made you reapply?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I kind of went through the last couple of years of my undergrad knowing that I was set on dentistry, so I didn't think of it as what am I gonna do if I don't get in. It was more of a what am I gonna do to get in no matter what. So after I didn't get in my first cycle, I started working as a dental assistant, and I kind of wanted to find anything to change on my application. So I was studying to retake my DAT, but whenever COVID came, it shut down all the testing centers. So I kind of dropped that right away. But it is hard to lose motivation whenever you don't get in the first time. But if you really want it, you'll get it done. My friend, he took 3 times applying, and he finally got on his fourth time, and he had to do a master's. And now he's applying to oral surgery, so he's top of his class. So if you want it bad enough, then I feel like you won't give it up easily, even if it takes you 3 or 4 years to get in.
And so, how can students kind of stay focused when they're facing like self doubt?
I think the most important thing is to not lose sight of your goal. So if you know and you're 100% sure that you want to do this, then try your best to get it done. And then if you're not 1,000 or 100% passionate about it, then you'll find it easy to kind of give it up and find another career path. So you have to kind of sit with yourself and think to yourself, is this something I really want? And even if I don't get in the first couple of cycles, am I still gonna keep applying for it?
For gaining clinical experience, what's kind of like the best way you found to find shadowing opportunities in undergrad?
Yeah, so I was part of ASDA, and I find a lot of dental offices to shadow through ASDA. I think that was the easiest way. But if you're not part of ASDA or they still don't have that shadowing program, I would just call up dental offices around you. Just search up dental. There's like probably five dental offices within 10 minutes of everyone. So just call them all and see if they have any shadowing experience. And then once you're cooler with them, you can probably say you shadowed them for 200 hours, even if you've only done 20 hours. So most dental offices don't really care that much.
Besides like team off, did you find any like programs or events that you would recommend
For shadowing,
just to gain like clinical experience or experience in the dental field?
I did hear about one in Houston downtown for homeless people, but that one is really hard to get into. But I feel like that would be really good shadowing experience if you could get into that one. But other than Texas Mission of Mercy and just shadowing your local dental offices, I feel like that's kind of the best thing that you can do.
Once you got into dental school, um, and transitioned to that area, how different was dental school from undergrad?
So dental school, if you're not trying to specialize in dental school, then I think dental school is a little bit easier than undergrad. Because in undergrad, you're always thinking to yourself, am I gonna get into dental school? What if I'm not good enough? What if my grades are not high enough? What if I don't do good on the DAT? But once you're in dental school, you already know you kind of got in, so you're not really competing with thousands of people to get in. You're honestly just trying to pass the classes, unless you want to be top 10 in the class, so you can specialize in oral surgery or orthodontics or whatever you want. If that's not really your goal, then dental school is really easy. They make it super easy for you to be able to just pass, unless you go to the San Antonio Dental School, because that one's pretty rough. But most dental schools are pretty straightforward. So I would say dental school is easier than undergrad.
Did you have to like manage your time a lot with stress and expectations in dental school? I think you already kind of like mentioned that, but or did you find yourself a little bit more stressed out? Like personally, I've seen on TikTok that girl that drinks like two energy drinks a day.
Hmm.
She's always like crying. Did you find yourself doing that a lot?
I think it all depends on your personality type. You don't really, if you're not trying to, like I said earlier, like make the highest grades in the world, then it's not that stressful. And I'll say whatever works for you in undergrad, whatever studying habits work for you will probably work for you in dental school. You will just have to put a little bit more time into your studies, but it's very doable.
And now that you've graduated, how different is the post grad life? How is your first year of being a dentist been?
So the biggest difference is how many patients we see. In dental school, we'd see maybe two or three patients a day, but now we're seeing 10, 15. And that's even on the lower end. I have some friends that are seeing like 30, 40 patients a day. So definitely the workload in terms of physical strain is a lot higher. But at the end of the day, if you find a good office that you're comfortable at, they won't expect you to do things that you're not comfortable doing. So it's just going to be a lot more volume than you're used to.
That's all we have today. We're gonna open the chat for a little Q&A. Or if you guys want to open your mics, whatever you guys want to do.
So, how was the work life balance in dental school compared to like undergrad?
Yeah, so in undergrad, you have a little bit more free time, but regarding dental school, you're still gonna be able to do the things that you're really passionate about. Um, because in my dental class, everybody that liked to work out got time to work out, you know. So whatever you're passionate about, you're gonna be able to get it done, whether you're in dental school or even in undergrad. How did you secure a letter of recommendations in a course with a lot of students? That's a really good question. Um, the my cousin and I, we used to actually reach out to the professor and see if we can meet with him in his office, and we'd have just questions for him. For example, our Orgo professor, his name was Lloyd Doe. I don't know if he still teaches there, but we would reach out to him and we'd go visit him in his office, and we got to know him kind of on a personal level. So it can be kind of, I guess, you can get kind of nervous if you go by yourself to speak to a professor and see if you want to meet them in their office. But if you bring a friend or someone along with you and you guys both ask questions about things that you're learning or things that you don't understand, things like that, that will already put you a step in front of all the other people that are asking for letters of recs. Also, it helps if you bring them gifts too.
What surprised you the most about either the application road to like getting to dental school or like once you actually got to dental school?
I think what surprised me the most was getting accepted because I didn't really think it was gonna happen, but I still knew that I was gonna keep trying no matter what. And also, what really surprised me was how chill dental school was. I thought it was going to be a lot harder, but it's a lot chill, more chill than people make it out to be, unless they're studying like all day, every day. I think we had a question in the comments. What was a typical weekly workload like in dental school? So in dental school, everybody has different ways to study, but for me, I try my best to study every day for a couple hours. So it's gonna be the same. For example, you guys are taking 5 classes right now on average in undergrad. In dental school, it would be like 8 classes. So all the classes are doable, but it's just a lot more workload. So some classes are easier than others, so you don't have to study as hard. Some classes are a little bit harder, so it's just kind of about balancing your time and seeing what you need to be able to do. What year was the hardest for you? Typically, some dental schools, the second semester of second year is the hardest. But for me, actually, the first semester of the first year was the hardest, just because I took 2 gap years and I wasn't really used to studying as hard. But once you kind of get into a routine of studying almost every day, then I feel like it just gets pretty easy after that. You just have to put in the work. Do you need to do research in dental school? I guess every dental school is different, but in my dental school, we didn't have to do any research like mandatory. Some people did research just for fun, but it wasn't necessary. Like it wasn't mandatory to do it. Even applying for dental school, I know medical school, it looks good on your application if you did some research, but dental schools don't really care that much. I didn't do any research, and a lot of my friends didn't do research, and they all got in. So I don't know if it plays that big of a difference in dental. Can you walk us through the application process? So it was a really long time ago, but I think it was through AD. What is it? I don't even remember what it's called, but it was a website, and it's really cool because there's a Texas version and then there's a out of state version. So the Texas one will automatically put you into all the Texas ones, but the out of state one you get to pick all the schools that you want to go to, and then some schools will send you secondaries. Okay, yeah, TMDSAS. And then some schools will send you secondaries, so you have to write a bunch of essays. But UH had a nice thing called HPAC, so I went through that, and it's really nice because they can kind of review your whole application and write you an additional letter of rec, and I feel like that looks pretty good on your resume. They also help you out with that sometimes too. What do you think going to UH specifically helped with dental school process? UH had some pretty good dental organizations. I would say ASDA is really good and APTO is really good. So if you're just surrounded by people who are kind of only focused on dentistry and getting into dental school, then they'll always have really good tips for you on things you should put in your application and like events that you should go to and things like that.
Would you say pre-dental students should prioritize more so on getting work experience, like clinical hours, or shadowing?
So if you're working as a dental assistant, you're in a way you're technically shadowing too, because you're not only working with your hands, but you're also watching everything the doctor does. So technically, if you want, you can say you worked X amount of hours, but also whatever hours you worked, you can say you shadow too. So it's kind of, I think the best thing you can do would be to assist, but shadowing is really good too. I think a lot of schools just want to see that you're involved in the dental field one way or another. In our
Is
school, um, well, we got a question. How early did you start working on actual patients? Our school had us working on them from the first semester, but it was just cleanings and hygiene things. So we didn't actually do treatment until end of second year, early third year. But some schools, like the one in El Paso, will have you start within your first semester. So that's a really good school if anyone ever gets into that one. If you could redo your pre-dental journey, what would you do earlier or do differently? I guess what I would have done differently is I would have chosen dentistry from the start because I didn't choose dentistry until my third year of undergrad. So that kind of held me back a little bit, and I took my DAT a little bit later than I would have wanted to. What was the most challenging part of dental school for you? I would say the most challenging part initially was just the study and workload in the very beginning, my very first semester. But after the second semester, most schools don't have any more classes, so you're kind of in clinic full time. So once you get in, just think to yourself, I'm gonna work really, really hard for the first 2 years, and then after that, it's gonna be pretty straightforward.
would you be open to taking people to shadow you?
I can ask the office that I work at if they allow that because I know it's kind of they have a weird strict policy of the shadowing, but I'll ask and then feel free to reach out to me and then I'll see if we can
Oh
get
yeah,
you
I'll
guys in
text
for
you then.
shadowing. Yeah,
Sounds good.
thank you. Uh, were there any specific manual dexterity activities, exercises that you found helpful in preparing for dental school? I personally didn't do anything manually, but you're gonna have a ton of practice in dental school, so that's not something you should really worry about that much because whenever everyone starts, it's kind of it's really hard to um, practice hand stuff for teeth if you're not in the sim lab practicing. So, but almost everyone gets really good, except like a couple of people. They're kind of still struggling with it. But if you work hard in it, you'll get really good at it. What made you choose dentistry? Just to be able to help people, and it was a good career path, work-life balance, and salary was good too. What were your interviews like? Did you prep? Were they harder? Yeah, so interview questions, a lot of them you can find them on Student Doctor Network. So whatever school you go to, just look it up on Google, and you'll find a lot of questions that they typically will ask you. And yeah, regarding prepping, I would have one of my friends ask me all the questions that I found, and then I would kind of practice the things that I wanted to say so I'm not caught off guard with them. Regarding scholarships, some schools do offer scholarships. I know that the Army, or if you apply through any military, they offer scholarships too, but you're gonna have, for example, if they pay for 4 years, you have to serve them for 4 years too. So you kind of go to whatever location they want you to and things like that. My favorite part of dental school, just honestly the people that I was with, because that's that'll make or break your dental school experience. So The people that you're around, the friendships that you make, that was my favorite part of dental school. Did I ever think about specializing? I did my first week, but I didn't really know what I was going to specialize in. But after my first grade, I was like, yeah, this isn't going to happen. So now I like general dentistry. Prospects for new grads. So I got into dental school 4 years ago, and I'm not sure what the ratings are nowadays, what the averages are, but back then I think the average GPA was 3.8 and the average DAT was 21. So I don't know what it is now, but it's probably a lot more competitive now just because of how much access everyone has to bootcamp and DAT booster. I think that's regarding DAT studying though, DAT bootcamp is really good, and then the booster is really good too. Yeah, there was another thing that everybody used to study. Destroyer. Destroyer was really good too. Yeah, Destroyer. I tried to do Destroyer, but the questions were too hard, which is why I got a 19. But if you do Destroyer, they say you're guaranteed a 21.
How many dental schools do you think someone should apply to if they're pre-dental? Because I know there's 4 in Texas, of course, that's like a given for
Yeah.
anybody in Texas. But how many would you say somebody should apply to out of state? And what does the cost of that look like?
So definitely apply to the in-state ones, and then out of state. I remember I searched up kind of the ones that accepted the lower DAT because I knew mine wasn't that high. And I applied to maybe my first year, I only applied to 2 or 3 out of state, but my second year, I applied to, I think, around 10. So honestly, the more you apply to, the better, but it just gets a lot more expensive. I think it might have been $300 per school for out of state, if I'm not mistaken. But the Texas ones, I think it was all of them for 300.
I
So
see.
the
And
Texas one is very good. Yeah.
in addition to that, like what would you say? So some things that some of my friends who are also pre-dental are worried about is their GPA for sure. Some of them
Yeah.
are sub 3.3 or sub 3.4, 3.5. So they're in the way below the competitive line, I guess.
Yeah.
When do you think someone should consider doing, I guess, a master's between a master's program like an SP or a post-bac to fix that up?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I feel like back in my day, the average was 3.8, so I'm just assuming that now it may be around the same or a little bit higher. I would say if you're not close to like 3.7, then it would be really good to try your best to do a post-bac. But when you do a post-bac, you have to make sure to get all A's because like when you start undergrad, you have the excuse of kind of also they do look at if you started making as soon as you started you make C's and B's, but towards the end you started making A's. They do take that into consideration. But if it's kind of all over the place and you do a post-bac, then it's really important to try your best to make all A's. But I think you want to be around a 3.7. Also, keep in mind they do take people with a lot lower GPAs, but something has to really stand out. For example, you're one or the other. Typically, your DAT has to be really, really good, or your GPA has to be really good. So they kind of they look at everything. They don't just look at one thing. Also, someone asked, what would you believe are the ideal stats for a pre-dental student? There's no really such thing as ideal stats because they look at everything holistically. But you want to be kind of whatever school you want to go to, you want to see the average GPA and the average DAT acceptance, and then after that, everyone's application is different. So, for example, for my application, I think I put 1,000 hours of shadowing but I actually didn't do that many hours. I did a lot less, but the person that I went to was really cool. So I didn't even tell her what I did, and then I said, hey, if anybody calls and says I did 1,000 hours, you have to say yes, I did. So if you find someone like who's kind of cool like that, you can fluff up your application a little bit. How early do you have to schedule your GAT? If I plan to take it around the end of the summer, I'm not too sure about the scheduling because I did it a long time ago, but I think it's by location. So DAT, there's no specific time like the MCAT where you have to take it. It's kind of all depending on you. So I think they have a ton of dates that you can take. You just have to pick whatever date you're comfortable with. But application cycle, I think it opens May 1st. So if you want to be safe, I would take it before that day. And then if you don't do too good and you want to study again and retake it, then it'd be good to retake it in August time, because that way you'll still have a couple of months to apply before the application closes.
Would you recommend someone who's in a like low GPA situation but have like a strong DAT, they apply, and if they decide to go back to do a postbac or SMP for their GPA, they just apply before that and then do those steps
Yeah,
to
I
test their
definitely
GPA and then
recommend
apply again?
applying. Yeah, because you never know if they take you or not the first time. Plus, some people think that if you apply multiple times, it hurts your chances. But if anything, it actually looks really, really good on your application, especially if you're doing something to improve your application every single year. For example, I had a friend who applied four years in a row, and he finally got in. And every year he would do something different. For example, postbac, he started assisting, increased his DAT score. So they definitely look at that as a plus. What did I major in undergrad? I did public health promotion with a minor in biology. And the reason behind that was because it was the easiest major at U of H. It probably still is. Were you ever on the fence? So initially I was pre-med, but after I went and worked as a scribe at an emergency room, I didn't like medicine that much at all. I think what turned me away from it was just the way that obviously emergency room isn't the best place to look at, but it was just the fact that people would come in with something and then they'd get prescribed medicine and then they'd leave and then you wouldn't be able to, you could follow up with them, but typically the emergency room doctors didn't. But when I did dentistry, it was me kind of taking care of them from start to finish. For example, they come in with pain in one of their teeth and then I can solve that same day. I can kind of take the tooth out and then or do a root canal and then check up on them in 2 weeks and see how they're doing. So, and I also liked working with my hands. You can do that in medicine too. You can become a surgeon, but I feel like dentistry was the faster way to get it done. Red flags that you should avoid. I'm not too sure, to be honest. I don't really know. Just run everything through ChatGPT and see what they say.
All right. We're gonna do 2 more minutes of Q&A. Um, so as much as you can possibly answer on the time.
Okay. When would you recommend to start writing your personal statement? I would say start maybe 6 months before you apply. That way, every day you're looking at it, every day you're changing stuff, and run it through people who are really good at English too, like the Writing Center. They can really help you out with that. I started mine 6 months before I applied.
All right. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good day. All right. We'll have one final question for you. If you could give your college self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I wouldn't change anything about my college experience. I would say have as much fun as you can and take it seriously, but don't let it consume your whole life. Like, still make time for your family, your friends, make time to do things that you enjoy outside of school because if you don't, then you'll burn out. And then it's easy to feel like you're sucked into all your classes and you have to do everything you can to make an A, which is true, but still make time for things that you like to do. Like, for example, sometimes school would be too much for me, so I would just leave everything and then go to Galveston and just chill by myself at the beach for a couple of like hours. So if you're feeling like you're burning out, then just take a break from everything and then have some fun, and everything will be okay at the end of the day.
That's great advice. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your experience, your insights with us, and for answering all these questions. Um,
Yeah, thank you all for joining.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks. See you guys.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Have a good day.